Welcome to Almost Here, Round the Corner Future Technology Podcasts with Richard Jacobs. Future technologies poised to transform our lives for better or worse are the focus of this podcast. Almost here means these technologies are now here and starting to be used, or just around the corner, from Bitcoin to artificial intelligence, 3D printing, blockchain, virtual reality, and more.
Coming to Dallas, Texas, September 14th, 15th, and 16th, 2018, the Blockchain and Future Tech Expo. This is going to be a gigantic conference of over 5,000 people. We're going to be talking about blockchain and its applications. We're going to be talking about quantum computing, cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, and several other future technologies that are poised to and actually changing our lives as we speak. Here's why you should attend. As you may know, early adopters are the ones that investigated and profited from things like the gold rush in the 1800s, from the dot-com boom in the 1990s, from the internet boom in 2005, from the smartphone explosion in 2007, from the real estate boom that ended in 2008, and of course, from the Bitcoin boom that started in 2012. Early adopters act now. They don't wait till later. They go out west first. In their covered wagons, they find the biggest gold nuggets. If you consider yourself an early adopter and you want to find the biggest nuggets, then you owe it to yourself to attend this upcoming conference. Blockchain is going to affect how we control and store our medical data, how we send money around the world, how we bank, and more. But artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and cybersecurity will play a pivotal role in our lives as well. And that's why our next event, September 14th to the 16th at the Dallas Convention Center, is going to have not only 5,000 plus attendees, but will showcase blockchain, AI, cybersecurity, quantum computing, and more. You want to get in on the coming gold rush of future tech and opportunity as an early adopter. Don't be left out. To register, go to bftexpo.com. That's blockchainfuturetechexpo.com. Thank you.
Hello, welcome to the Future Tech Podcast. I am Alan Thomas, and today I have with me the CEO and founder of Veritaseum, Mr. Reggie Middleton. How you doing, Reggie?
I am fine. Happy to be here.
Oh, great to have you. Let's jump right into it. Tell us about the company. Who are you guys, and what do you do?
Well, we're a small startup organized last year in its current form, and we enable the peer-to-peer economy through software. So that's, I guess, a catchy way of saying we use software on the blockchain and in the cloud to enable any two individuals to do business with each other without a third party enabling them. So Peter can do business with Paul, who could do business with Paulette directly, and that could be a financial business or any other, and they don't need banks, brokerages, exchanges, agents, principals, or anybody else. They could do it generally faster, almost all of the time, with less risk, with more transparency, and without having to trust or know the other side of the deal. So all in all, a new way of doing things.
And what inspired the creation of the company?
The burgeoning of the technology. Once I realized that the technology was available to do such a thing, my brain exploded and ideas just started flying out. So the first thing that came to mind was the ability to, through smart contracts, do business with people all over the world. This makes a true global economy, regardless of the scale of the transaction. So two people can transact for 65 cents around the world without knowing each other, or $655 million, or $6.5 billion for almost the exact same cost.
And as far as your background, were you already in finance or tech by trade, or?
Yeah, I was self-trained in finance and technology. I feel I've earned my stripes. You can Google my name. If you say, if you're talking to Siri or Google now and say introducing Reggie Middleton video, you get a video that acts as a scissor reel, where I predicted the fall of Bear Stearns and Lehman Brothers and the European debt crisis and the wiggling of Apple and the prominence of Google and the fall of research in motion, and altogether by 87 to 100 calls over the last 11 years, with the most recent one being the rise of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and blockchain-related solutions.
So would it be fair to say that Veritaseum's ultimate mission is to have more, I guess, like you said, peer-to-peer personal transactions to kind of eliminate that need to trust a lot of people just to go through just to go through the normal transactions?
Actually, we're aiming a bit higher than that. We don't look to have more peer-to-peer transactions. We look to transform the economy into a peer-to-peer universe. So currently, people think of economic activities basically revolving around a central bank and money center banks and individuals who exercise control over money supply, et cetera. And we see the world as a bunch of peers connecting directly with each other exclusively, and that is the universe. So we're not looking to have more people act in a certain way. We're looking to empower people to be their own individual sovereign entities, whether it's financial or otherwise.
Oh, so kind of freeing them from the traditional system.
Right. We're going to recreate the world and hopefully do a better job at it. For those who follow my Twitter or Facebook or YouTube accounts, we just announced partnering with the entity in Ethiopia, and we are going to enable them to dematerialize their bond certificates and trade over the blockchain, which means that they would be able to trade without authoritative third party. We are looking to engage in announcing deals with Uganda, entities in Uganda, entities in Kenya, governments in Kenya, and throughout the African continent, and basically create a Pan-African economic network that combines all the economies of Africa as a single trading bloc, but using smart contracts and tokens. So basically, it would be the euro done correctly. We're also going to do the same thing throughout Europe, throughout Asia, and the U.S., and then eventually connect all the continents together so we have one single economic trading bloc, but not through any authoritative third party. So each and every 10-year-old girl, multi-generational family office, and corporation can trade with each other cross-continent globally with absolute transparency and trust.
So no clearing houses, no third parties at all, just direct. Everyone just direct, person to person.
Direct, person to person. You got it.
And in engaging with Veritaseum, what's the starting process like, the onboarding process like? Do I just fill out some forms to get an account started, or how does it work?
We're based on the Ethereum blockchain currently, so there are no accounts. The only form to fill out is the actual smart contract, which is very simple. If you go to the Veritaseum.com website and click the beta, you can actually see how it works. There's a constant preview of the application. And if we accept you in, it hasn't cleared U.S. regulatory hurdles as of yet, but we can accept you in as a contractor. If you can add value as a contractor, of course, and you can make use of it. Or if you're outside of the U.S. in a more amenable jurisdiction, you can actually make use of it directly. But it's drop dead simple, believe it or not, because of an interface that was made for the average person and not necessarily for the technically inclined or a developer.
So grandma should be able to get right, go right to it and go right through the process now.
Yeah, as long as grandma's hit.
Understood. And I know you said that. I'll go ahead.
I said or lit. It all depends on what generation you're referring to.
And I know you said that the company hasn't been around for that long, but you guys have kind of firmly established yourself in the space there. What kind of difficulties have you encountered in putting the company together?
Well, the concept started in 2013. The precursor to this company started in 2014. And then this particular company, there's several. When I say this, it's a business concept, but there are multiple companies involved because of a global, it's a global venture. And you can't really run everything from a single business entity. The biggest issue outside of capitalization, funding, has been getting the world to get up to speed on what's capable with the technology and the business model and what the benefits are. So it's education, basically. And we've been on a constant education spree. As a matter of fact, over the last 35 to 45, I say 45 days or so, We've been on a worldwide tour, going through multiple countries in Africa, in Europe, Asia, and the U.S., and North America, basically spreading the mantra, educating, teaching. And interest is growing with family offices, et cetera. And we are slowly but surely making our rounds and getting the point across.
So you would say that education would be the number one key to mass adoption? Yeah.
Almost guaranteedly. This is basically nirvana, but in order for nirvana to be appreciated, it has to be understood. A lot of people get their education from pop media or from their friends or cohorts or colleagues. Unfortunately, oftentimes, friends, cohorts, colleagues in mass media have absolutely no idea what they're doing. So the wrong message, or misinformation, or unfortunately sometimes disinformation, seeps out into the public, and then it gains momentum and inertia. So our job is to make sure that the facts are present. And unlike many startups that engage in a token offering, we move very quickly. So we have a fully functional product. We have quite an efficient research staff that puts out the most high quality research in the industry. And we have very functional developers who can develop at a rate and an efficiency that's a little hard to come by. We don't have a large development team. We have a good development team.
I like that. I like that. Not a large team, but a good team. So that definitely drives the point home there. And we've mentioned some of the difficulties, but what would you say are some of the main things you would look at as achievements up to this point?
Well, we developed the product, and that might not seem that monumental an achievement, but this time last year, I was told by practically everybody in the space that this type of product couldn't be done on an Ethereum blockchain. So not only did we develop the product, but we pretty much proved everybody wrong. We've developed the research staff, developed the research reports. Research is the basis of what we do. Everything is basically formed from knowledge. The research staff, the actual reports are, again, unmatched in the entire industry. Not as unmatched in this industry, I'll go so far as to compare the research report to subjects in other industries throughout finance. You compare a typical big brokerage report on Facebook to our report on digital assets such as Populous or PayPal, and your jaw would drop. Wow, how does this small team do such a thorough, accurate, and detailed job?
I find it interesting that people would try to tell you about what you can or can't do in this space, considering how quickly things change and the speed that the technology is advancing. I guess my first thought would be, well, who's authority enough to tell somebody else what they shouldn't be able to do or shouldn't be able to accomplish?
I can answer that question. The answer to that question is somebody who doesn't know how to get it done, right?
Exactly. And so what would you say are some developments or ideas that you may have heard that you might say, well, that's a little bit too ambitious right now, or that's something that may come 10 years down the road as opposed to 2 years down the road? Because usually there's always somebody in the room who thinks very, very big, and maybe it's just something that just can't necessarily be done today.
Well, I don't believe in too ambitious. I don't do that. It might not be worth the effort. That's one thing, or might not be conducive to our mantra, or our value add. But there's no such thing as too ambitious. There's something that's impractical. We can get anything done with enough effort, enough drive, and of course, human intellectual capital. Now, whether we should get it done is a different story. And also, there's one thing. There's in terms of the biggest roadblocks, I mentioned education and understanding, but regulation, is up there as well. But on second thought, regulation and regulatory issues are simply a manifestation of a lack of understanding. So I'm back to my original point. A lack of understanding and education on the topic is the biggest hurdles that we're facing.
Do you ever envision a day where these regulatory institutions would even be able to keep up or catch up enough to really be effective?
Well, I don't think they need to catch up. I think they need to understand that there's a new dawning. There's a new way of doing business, and the regulation should be focused on protecting the consumer of the product, not retail consumers, but the consumer of the product. In my opinion, that should be the overarching goal. In doing that, you don't necessarily have to keep up with technology. You just have to keep up with the ideal of protecting the consumer of the product. One significant part of protecting the consumer of the product is not to prevent that consumer from getting access to new technology and new business models. If you deny that consumer access to new technology or new business models or the new types of products, you're harming that consumer. So, and I'm not going to name regulators, of course, but on a global basis, any regulator that discriminates against small technology firms or discriminates based upon technology or based upon platform runs the risk of harming their own constituency by killing off creativity and the new ideas. And the creativity and new ideas don't form in the big established entities such as, Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley, Citibank. New ideas come from garages and in bedrooms. Just take a look at the last paradigm shift and the paradigm shift before that. Where did all the real useful ideas that became the new decade-billion-dollar companies, where did they come from? And century-billion-dollar companies. Microsoft started in a dorm room. Apple started in a garage. Facebook started in a dorm room. Amazon started eBay started as selling pezzas. Almost all the very, very creative ideas started very, very small and did not have budgets to fight to hire lawyers and, wrestle with regulators. And they would have all been driven out of business. Now, they would have been in business, but they would have just been in business in another country under another jurisdiction, and the U.S. would have been second and third versus first. So imagine if Google, Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft, Intel were all Russian and Chinese. Where would America be? Okay, and that's the risk that regulators face, or that's the risk that consumers face if regulators are overzealous in either protecting the status quo, because that's what they're used to, or they run the risk of discriminating based upon a platform or based upon the size and age of a company, et cetera. So protecting constituencies is the best way to go, with constituency being the consumer of the product. Okay, not necessarily extant companies, who are large, but the consumer of the product. And again, just to recant, the protection of constituencies who are consumers of the product is part and parcel in making sure they're not denied, access to the best new things.
And as part of that, so some people have mentioned that it seems that some governments in developing countries may be trying to develop their own cryptocurrency and kind of get into the space themselves. But do you think that's just another way to try to exert control over the space, or is that maybe a few people who seem to get it and are trying to get with the program?
Well, some are trying to get with the program, some are trying to exert control. But at the end of the day, Mother Market will have her due. So if you don't do it right, it will be, destroyed or it will fade out. If you do it right and execute correctly, you have a chance of having it become part of global history.
That's an insightful way of looking at it. And let me ask you, for the next couple of years, what does the future roadmap look like for you guys? What's coming down the pike in the next 12 to 24 months?
Well, put it this way, a year is a very long time in this business. Okay, I can tell you what's coming down the pike very quickly. We're working on making deals with multiple countries in Africa to basically deploy our technology to exchanges and brokers and dealers and sovereign entities, counties, cities, and countries throughout Africa. Basically, I'm trying to unite all 54 African countries economically. We're looking to deploy this in Europe. We're looking to deploy this in Asia. And we're also looking to give individuals access to independently run versions of our data from all over the world, regardless of their geopolitical, geographic, and socioeconomic standing. So this is over the next 6 months. And over the next 30 business days or so, I'll be announcing multiple deals that are being struck or deployments of the software, whether autonomously on our own or in conjunction with a governmental entity or a private company.
Oh, we'll definitely have to keep our ears open for that, for those announcements. Seems like
I made one this morning, actually.
Oh, oh, you guys are making all kinds of moves. Well, so what would you say your final thoughts would be for our listeners? What's the big takeaway that you would like them to take from this interview?
There's a lot of hype, and that hype is backed by people, or the hype is, I guess you could say, backed by people who are A, very excited, and or B, excited because they have more idea than capability and execution. C, there are some fraudsters and scams out there. But and then D, you have those who are basically fraudsters themselves, leaving everything they don't understand is a scam. So it's created a very nasty environment. There's nothing different between these opportunities and the others. Historically, to vet an opportunity, you learn about it as much as you can, and you use a fundamental analysis. 1 + 1 = 2. 2 - 1 = 1. Simple math. When things don't add up because you don't understand it, do your research. Just learn. If it's something that you can't understand, after several hours of due diligence, it's either too complicated for you or it wasn't worth understanding in the first place. Either way, there's something you should steer clear of. Okay?
I like that, and I like the term that you used too when you talked about how you have some folks with just more ideas than execution. I guess,
right.
I guess their next step is just to search for partners then.
Right, search for partners, and I found the biggest hole in most of the ICOs over the last year or two is a lack of diversity in the team. These ICOs are founded or imagined and founded by software developers or software engineers, and launched by software developers and engineers, and then they're operated and ideas executed by software developers and software engineers. That's cool if you're building software, but if you're trying to build a business, the best way to failure is let software engineers and developers do it. It should be business people that build the business. There should be domain expertise, or experts in certain domains or domain expertise builders to do the execution. And salespeople should do the sales, marketing should do the marketing, etc. Having developers basically act outside of their core competencies is a recipe for failure. Imagine if you hired a bunch of, sales reps to code and engineer a software program and develop it. Chances are it'd be a pretty bad software development, period, if it gets done at all. That doesn't mean that the sales reps were bad people. That means that they should have been selling versus building software. But what happens when you have software developers trying to sell or trying to run a business? Most likely you'll get the same result. So, if you don't see diversity in your team, that is a very, very big negative, in my opinion. You need diversity. I thrive on diversity. So we have software engineers, software developers, we have financial analysts, we have real estate experts, we have political mavens, we have AML, KYC, and compliance guys. We have the wild, entrepreneur, which is me, which also doubles as a macro strategist and investment strategist, etc. But we have a lot of diversity. So we not only attempt to go deep, but we attempt to go wide as well, which is why hopefully you'll see it pay off in the near future.
And what's the best way for all of our listeners to engage with you in the company?
Come to the website. Take a look at the website. There's a lot of information. There's a starter kit right on the front page, right under our introductory video. On the upper right-hand corner, there are 3 slashes, 3 lines, gives you the menu. And at the bottom, we have our social media links. And that enables you to, imbibe and engage in a Veritaseum. That front page alone contains dozens of hours of material, if not hundreds of hours, for you to familiarize yourself. And if you want the quick and dirty get started, just go straight into the beta. Try and look at it, click the help button. I'll go through the videos. You can always reach me from the website and the team. We have a team of roughly about 20. I think about 6 are on the website. And you can engage with me through Twitter as well. At Reggie Middleton is my Twitter handle. Oh,
excellent. Well, thank you, Reggie, for coming on to the podcast, and we appreciate your time and your wisdom.
Yeah, well, you're very, very welcome. And thank you for being flattering in your comments.
Coming to Dallas, Texas, September 14th, 15th, and 16th, 2018, the Blockchain and Future Tech Expo. This is going to be a gigantic conference of over 5,000 people. We're going to be talking about blockchain and its applications. We're going to be talking about quantum computing, cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, and several other future technologies that are poised to and actually changing our lives as we speak. Here's why you should attend. As you may know, early adopters are the ones that investigated and profited from things like the gold rush in the 1800s, from the dot-com boom in the 1990s, from the internet boom in 2005, from the smartphone explosion in 2007, from the real estate boom that ended in 2008, and of course, from the Bitcoin boom that started in 2012. Early adopters act now. They don't wait till later. They go out west first. In their covered wagons, they find the biggest gold nuggets. If you consider yourself an early adopter and you want to find the biggest nuggets, then you owe it to yourself to attend this upcoming conference. Blockchain is going to affect how we control and store our medical data, how we send money around the world, how we bank, and more. But artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and cybersecurity will play a pivotal role in our lives as well. And that's why our next event, September 14th to the 16th at the Dallas Convention Center, is going to have not only 5,000 plus attendees, but will showcase blockchain, AI, cybersecurity, quantum computing, and more. You want to get in on the coming gold rush of future tech and opportunity as an early adopter. Don't be left out. To register, go to bftexpo.com. That's blockchainfuturetechexpo.com. Thank you. You have been listening to Almost Here, Around the Corner Future Technology podcast with Richard Jacobs. Subscribe to this podcast, post a review to discover more future technologies that are poised to transform our lives for better or worse, such as Bitcoin, artificial intelligence, 3D printing, blockchain, virtual reality, and more.